Let's begin the third practice of developing our inner gourmet. We'll use pieces of a high fat food, specifically fried chicken here, and it can be done with any part of the chicken, with or without bone. And in fact, this practice can be done with any high fat food that you like, steak, for example. The point is, we want to use something we actually enjoy here. We'll take 4 bite-sized pieces of chicken and we'll go through the same 7 steps for each piece, just as we did before for the chocolate and our favorite snack. And a reminder to stay attentive to what's going on in our awareness, our body sensations, thoughts, feelings, and urges. And let's remember to rate our enjoyment of this food with the food enjoyment scale. And remember that 1 means this is the least enjoyable food experience I've ever had, and 10 is this is the most enjoyable food experience I've ever had. And then we reflect on our score and ask ourselves why this number and not something higher or lower. So let's begin. So, step 1 is where we look at the fried chicken. We can look at it on our plate, or we can pick it up and look all around it. We can look at the crust and be attentive to its color. It might be golden. The crust might look crispy and uneven, and we'll just be attentive to the texture and the shine and the shape. And we'll be aware of our thoughts and our urges and our feelings. Is my mouth watering? Am I anticipating something very good going into my mouth? And we'll rate the enjoyment of this piece of food during this step. And remember to think about why you gave it this number and not a number that's higher or lower. So in step 2, we're going to smell this piece of chicken. We'll bring it close to our nostrils and we'll close our eyes and then we'll inhale deeply and we'll notice what we smell: the seasoning, the oil, the warmth. And again, we're attentive to what's going on in our awareness, our thoughts and our feelings, or what our body's doing. And we'll rate our enjoyment of the chicken during this step. So in our next step, step 3, we're going to feel the chicken with our lips. We'll take the piece of chicken and we will put it against our lips and we'll notice things like the temperature, the texture, whether it's crisp, whether it's greasy, and how we feel about it and what we think about it, any body responses. And we'll stop to rate our enjoyment of the chicken during this step, thinking about why we gave it this score and not a score that's higher or lower. So, step 4, and in this step, we'll put and hold the piece of chicken in our mouth without chewing. We'll let it sit on our tongue and we'll feel the surface and whether the texture is changing in our mouth at all. And we'll notice any flavors and how things might be changing. We're probably feeling an urge to chew at this point, and we'll acknowledge it, but we won't react to it. We'll be curious about it, and we won't judge it as good or bad. We'll just let it be there. And when we're ready, we'll rate our enjoyment of the chicken at this step. So for step 5, we're going to start chewing, and we're going to do it intentionally and not in a rush. And again, we'll notice the texture and the flavors. We'll notice what else is going on in our awareness, in our thoughts and feelings. And we'll probably feel an urge to swallow. And when we feel that urge, we'll pause. Resisting the urge to swallow probably feels a little unpleasant. So we'll acknowledge that and we'll be with it. We won't judge it and we won't try to push it away. We'll be kind about it. And when we're ready, we'll give a rating of our enjoyment of the chicken during this step. So, step 6 is where we continue chewing and we notice how the flavor changes and the texture changes. And we still might be feeling an urge to swallow when we acknowledge that without reacting to it and without trying to change it. And we keep chewing and noticing the flavor and the texture and our enjoyment until we find that it's stopped changing. And then we give a rating to our enjoyment of the food during this step. The seventh and last step is where we swallow. So go ahead and swallow if you haven't already. And we'll be attentive to the food moving down our throat and what's going on in our awareness, the body sensations we might have, and our thoughts and feelings and urges. And notice where the sensation of the food disappears in our awareness of what's going on at that time. And we'll rate our enjoyment of the chicken during this step. And now we'll repeat the 7 steps with the second, third, and fourth pieces of chicken. The timing and rhythm of the formal guidance might have felt a little unnatural, so we'll go through the practice for the remaining pieces without formal guidance so that we can do it in a rhythm that does feel more natural, but also without skipping anything. And as we take in the third and fourth pieces, we're especially attentive to the enjoyment that we're getting from the food. Is it the same as when we first started? Has the food been pleasurable through all the stages of eating? Are there any variations in what I did that changed the way I enjoyed the food? Was there anything unexpected as we in this mindful fashion? And we bring this practice to a close. And we walk away with a greater awareness of eating this very common food, and also with a deeper awareness of eating in general and what it means to enjoy our food. Thanks for joining me for this session of mindfulness training. And check out the other sessions as well, and also the companion resources that I've put together to help you explore and enjoy the benefits of mindfulness.